Hello, folks. Welcome to the Third End podcast. Sorry, we've a little bit of technical glitches there. As tonight, 2-1 win for Dundalk in Oriel Park. There was one famous soprano there. In the words of Mr. Tony Soprano, even a broken clock is right twice. 2-1 win for the town. I got it. I think I'm top of the charts now. Joining me to discuss the match, Gally, if he lets himself in.
That's the first time I've introduced the show. As you can tell, Chris Clark's on sabbatical for a couple of minutes. I couldn't figure out how to get rid of the screen. My poor Pingu sitting there. I was like, what's going on? If anybody saw me live there. Evening, folks. Welcome to the Third End podcast. Produced by me, as you can tell. What do we think, Pingu?
I mean, it wasn't a great match, was it? You know, on the whole, I think we were saying off air, the referee made it exciting in the second half. Great to get a win. You know, I think Shell's set themselves up, and it's been said, especially away from home, I think they've got a decent record. They set themselves up to frustrate, to bully, especially in the middle of the park. It seemed like they're trying to bully us off the ball, and to be able to come away with a win when it looked like yet again we were throwing a 1-0 lead away. With a few minutes to go, you know, with 15 minutes to go, it went 1-1, and you're fearing everything's going to happen again. But to go back up the pitch and score almost from the kickoff, you know, I think it's a good result, great result. Poor game all in all, but at the end of the day, you'll take a poor game, but as long as you get the win, you know.
Yeah, I think I don't want to go down the road of just talking about Duff straight away and what happened in the first half, but I think you're right. Shelbourne kind of had that mentality of they came to frustrate, and they were quite happy to let us have the ball early on. But I think even Flanagan was pointing it out that Shelbourne didn't need a lot of the ball. When they were getting their chances, the little bit that they had, they were always creating something. They were always kind of down the throats of the lads at the back. And I just felt it seemed to be something it was going to take something a little bit of. I suppose we'll talk about later. We got our first man of the match in already for the pizza tonight. Something like Keith Ward. It was always going to take a little bit of magic to that. It was just one of those games. You know, we'll talk about the ref. We'll talk about, you know, was it a penalty in the first half? Did he give the penalty because of it? All that type of jazz. But it was kind of set up to be one of those nights that it was going to take something a little bit special just to kind of kick it off and get on the game. Just as I'm talking, I'll just bring in the man who made me produce tonight and made me start off the podcast like that. First of all, what's the story?
Was it not a smooth start then? No,
it wasn't. No, it started off so well. Pingu gave me the whole, and then I was like, "Oh, where's Chris when you need him?" Chris, what do we think?
Wow,
a massive win, I suppose, but
yeah,
you know, it's still got that little bit of frustration with it, has it?
It's a strange one. Like at halftime, lads, I did not see that whole second half playing out like that. First half, I was nearly bored senseless. You know, like there wasn't a whole lot of ending going on, and we were just back and forth. You know, no one really trying anything. It was like a game of chess more than anything. We were trying to play our way out of everything, and they were being very, very physical. I think just, you know, the sendings off completely changed the whole match, and you know that the second half was just it was mad as a result. Like I'm sure we'll kind of pick our way through it, but when I looked at some of the other results tonight, it was really important to get a result tonight.
Yeah, when you consider, I was watching. I had Twitter. I was watching the boys in League of Ireland. I had Twitter off, just flashing Derry goal, Derry this, Derry that. Rovers. I think Rovers were 3-0 up at half time or something. Might even more. I don't know. You know what the game finished?
3-1. I think.
It was a 3-1, yeah. Steph, I just didn't introduce you there, Steph. Welcome to the podcast. You were at the game, Steph, were you?
I told you the game was born in the first half.
Yeah, can't hear you, Steph. Pal.
Unmute your mic, Steph. I have you unmuted here.
Oh, he hasn't plugged in. He hasn't plugged his headphones in. Watch. Wait for it. He'll unplug it. He'll come back in again. You may want to come out of your headphones completely now, Steph, or I heard you.
Can't hear you, Steph. Hold on.
This will be someone else's problem now, watch.
No, we're not happening. And him at the game as well.
And he rushed home. He probably ran the whole way home to get this.
Just on, I suppose, for me, the first talking point without going into the second half, Ward coming on, do you think the first half, the lad should have had a penalty? Shelbourne should have had a penalty in the first half. I didn't see the replay of it. I was watching on the streams. I didn't want to go back because, like I was saying to Pingu off air, when you go back on the stream, it logs you out of it and you got to re-log back in. It's a disaster sometimes. So I haven't seen the replay of it, but it looked like a stonewall penalty in the first half for Shells.
It looked about as soft as the one they were given.
Yeah, mate, we could have been, yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think it was soft enough penalty they were given. So if you're given that one, could you have given one earlier in the game? Yeah, very possible.
And do you think that's what I was thinking? I was kind of thinking myself, did he give the penalty later on because the ref had that in his mind that he probably should have given I don't know. It's again, I haven't watched the replay. I just watched as it happened.
Yeah, I think there's probably an element of that. I think he might have felt that he needed to make amends for something, so gave a fairly easy penalty in the second half. But overall, I think if you look at their first sending off, I think to be fair, the player he kind of hits the ground and has the old fake an injury to see if he can get away with this, but it was as blatant as anything coming through. And Duffer's reaction was a bit strange because he clearly wasn't happy that the player was going to be sent off, and then he gave it all out.
Yeah, and then consider it was the first half as well.
Yeah, but then the ref seemed to turn and walk back, and he obviously said something again, and then the ref turned back around to give the red card. Then, so
apparently he threw the bottle of water or something. I don't know if he threw it at the ref or whatever,
right,
but apparently
okay,
that's what happened with that. But from looking at tweets, but I mean, again from following Twitter, and Gally, you were saying you were following it there during the match. I heard that, or I read that apparently his frustration was actually at Griffin. It wasn't even at the referee.
Right.
Now I don't know how true that is, but that's what I was seeing on Twitter during the match.
I think it was it kind of happened off camera, so the camera didn't actually. We weren't actually watching at the time, but
easy
to me,
on you,
yeah. To me, it was. It seems to be what Duff has that in his locker. I know. Look at Ollie Hogan's well known for getting sent off, but to be sent off in the first half of the game when it's 0-0 still. I know things haven't gone your way. You've probably been frustrated with the lack of ball you've had. But like we were saying earlier on, I think John Flanagan alluded to it on the stream that they didn't need a lot of the ball. When they seemed to get it, they seemed to be able to work it really well and seemed to work it a little bit better than the Dundalk did going forward. But Duff just seems to have that little bit of nasty in him. And I'd be thinking down the line, like I said at the start of the season, it could cost him long term. I've seen tweets. I think Donald Green tweeting as well. Dundalk Village sponsor, by the way, just to get that in there. He was saying that he might not last the season with an attitude like that. He could end up getting that frustrated. He could end up walking away. But do you think that's just the football head in him, or do you think he's just frustrated with maybe the officials? Because the league, I suppose he's come down to League of Ireland level. I suppose is the best way of putting
it. I think when you look at all those, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Pete.
I think when you look at all his interviews every week, he's annoyed at something else to do with the League of Ireland, isn't he? It's a new thing every week. But I think, you've hit the nail on the head there, Gally. He set his team up to frustrate. He set them to be hard to break down. But like Mark Coyle in the middle of the field, I actually don't think he won a ball tonight. I think every time he went in for a 50-50 challenge, he wanted to take the player first and then get the ball after. It doesn't surprise me how there's red cards and that in the game tonight, because in the middle of the park, they just tried to bully, and we started playing the ball out a little bit wider in the second half, and it's no surprise that that's where the 2 goals came from. But it just, again, as going back to your point about Duffer, he's setting his team up, especially away from home, to attempt that, to be hard to break down, but to actually bully their way into the game without playing particularly good football, which they're well capable of playing.
Yeah, I think I almost felt that I don't want to get on with Duff all the time, but it almost filtered on to the players, didn't it? They seemed to be a little bit. I don't know if they were annoyed that he was sent off. I don't know if that's something maybe to do in training. I don't know if there's a bit of an anger thing there. With the so-called bigger clubs that we would be, but it just seemed like it was never going to be their night. I don't know. Maybe I just got that impression watching the stream. I wasn't at the game. Steph, you mic back, by any chance? Is he back on? No, he hasn't gone back, is he?
It's on the silent treatment.
Yeah, but even Chris, you were at the I don't know what Adrian and Flana were saying, but it just felt like Dundalk, if anybody was going to get it, it was going to be us. It just seemed to be Shelbourne seemed to get that annoyed. They were almost forgetting how to play football. Now, maybe that was just in the stream, but it might have been a different atmosphere there.
No, I think James Rogers had a stat up that Duff has never been sent off as a player, and in his first managerial role, he has been sent off. So, amazing. Like, but I think look, there we go. There are people coming out with it now. I think he has them kind of rallied up maybe a little too much there tonight. That it wasn't needed, and then it turned into just a physical thing. On every tackle, it was make sure you go wholehearted into it, and I think like Pingu just says, if you do that, you're on a tightrope then for potential yellow and red cards, and you're going to walk yourself into trouble. I don't think, like I said, the first half was kind of meandering along. I don't think it necessarily. I didn't see a red card coming in it. Yeah, there was some good tackles out there that could have been way on them, but I didn't. Sometimes you can tell when a red card is coming. It's like the referee might have let one or two things go, and you're like, next one of them, someone's in trouble here because they're getting a little worse each time. But I don't know. I think if his game plan was to come up to Oriel and try to kick lumps, it was the wrong game plan. You're not getting away. Would be my thinking on it. It's not how to play. Not that our team hasn't got lads to get stuck in, but we've got really good bowlers there. And if you're going to get into that, you've probably seen like in the first half and the second half in particular, we played ourselves out of awkward situations quite well. Do you know what I love though? When into the second half, when the teams were evened up, the space on the pitch for 10v10 lads is class.
It's like old school training.
It really is.
It's like fly keeper.
Yeah, it was amazing. But and on to that, I suppose Bradley's sending off, like he was being pulled, kicked at for a good 20 yards before that. Now the ref could have brought that back, so only because the ref didn't blow up for a free kick, which I think he inevitably was going to do, Bradley ends up lashing out.
Yeah.
And Adrian Taft said it to me. I don't know if he said it on air, but he definitely said it after. He said, there was a touch of the Beckhams about it, that he got a little frustrated and then kick out at the end then as a result.
And on the stream, I didn't go through the replay. It didn't look that it happened that fast. Now, obviously, whatever happened, it obviously incites the Shelbourne. I don't know if he made contact. Somebody in the stand. I don't know if Steph you could see it if you got your mic on or anything. But I don't know if he made contact. But it's like the Beckham-esque. Or if you remember Van Nistelrooy against Arsenal a couple of years ago, that kind of. I don't know whether the player has jolted like he's being kicked. I just couldn't see. I didn't get the replay of it.
Yeah.
But at this day and age, if you kick out like that, that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I think the ref. Look, I think the ref. I think he had a bit of a nightmare, but I think it was like he was the center of attention. I know we said that about a lot of refs in the past, but there's some of the instances, like even some of the fouls probably weren't fouls. He's given. I lost count of the amount of cards that were given out tonight.
Yeah,
but it's.
And I knew Conley was getting one.
Of course, he's one. If it's not him, it's Sam Bone. They'll guarantee the card every game. But I mean, Bradley, and I think I was saying to Pingu off, it's a straight red. I don't think it was a double yellow or anything.
Straight red for a kick out, yeah.
Right. So what would that? That'll be 3 games, will it? Or will it be?
Yeah.
Depending on where they look at it.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It depends on what they say, but as I say, I didn't see it because I'm on the wider camera. You're kind of going with the flow of the game. It'd be the close-up one could tell what it. But Adrian said that there was a lash out, anyway, out of frustration for not getting a free kick, which is understandable. And like I said, the annoying thing is if the ref just blows up for any one of the 16 pulls he had on his arm, he doesn't get sent off in that game.
Yeah.
I think that's the frustrating thing for him then too, like that. Like now he's going to have a suspension. You think of the form he had coming into it, at the start of the season. Then he got the niggle, and he kind of, even though he came out was it actually the Shells match that time? Then he came back in again, and he kind of was building back to a bit of form again. He set up the 2 against Sligo, and we were kind of waxing lyrical about him. Now he's going to have another setback of a suspension now as well. Like, so it's an awful shame for him. On a night where we'd 2 fantastic crosses as well, and you think, wow, he wasn't even involved in either of them. It's a strange one.
They were just before I was just thinking, just as you were talking, just before we go on to Ward, Sloggett seemed to be. We mentioned Sloggett last week, and Steph was not last week. I missed the last podcast, but the week before, playing more advanced role. He seemed to be thundering forward a lot tonight. He actually had a chance, I think, early on, the first 15-20 minutes, he had a chance that came across his way. But as a typical midfielder, when he's not a striker, he didn't seem to turn on it very well. But he seems to be getting a bit of a gallop. He seems to be able to, give him that almost a free role to go forward when he wants, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those, like, what I think people are probably wondering, and maybe sometimes, Greg himself, what's his best role in this team?
Yeah.
And that's never great, because you think of. I'm thinking of Lewis McCarry, who kind of came in and we didn't know where he was going, and then all of a sudden, he gets paid on that right side, his preferred position, and he puts in super deliveries and really good solid performances, and you kind of say, well, that's probably his role now.
Yeah,
I think still, when you go back to a couple of the roles in the middle of the park, you're probably still saying they're probably up for grabs, because whether he's playing Doyle, in a role, tonight, then we seen Wardy come in, and Wardy wanted to be, everywhere tonight. He was taking free kicks in his own half. He just wanted to get on the ball. I seen him on one stage grabbing the ball for a throw in, and Lewis McCarry kind of looked at him and said, "Would you jog on?" Sort of away, So
I think that was a night. That was the payoff. It almost, look, we've waxed lyrical about him for a couple of weeks now. We're always looking for Wardy to come on and change a game, and I'd like, getting on to now the goals. I mean, when I was saying the Pingo early on, it was a night made from, really, wasn't it? It was going to take something like that to come on. Like, that cross is absolutely nailed on. It's an awkward one, but it was perfect. Like, I mean, and he had 1 or 2 before that nobody got on to, but he completely changed the game when he come on.
Yeah, I think even for that, for the first goal, like Hubin's trap, to bring it down and to knock it over his head, to be aware that he was there behind him. That's, even the defenders were thinking that's not what he's going to do on this, and he to go and then just whip in the ball like that. I really think, I feel bad nearly at the start of the season and the end of last year. We were kind of saying, with Dickie Kelly, we'd love him to score some more goals, and that's what he's missing out of his game. Wow, is he absolutely repaying that now? Like, that's what, 3-4 goals for him now this season already, and he's a habit now, and it's a thing where he's just turning up in the box at the right time for a lot of this now, and to finish off that cross, like you say, Hubin's awareness of Wardy for that, and then the ball in and the finish, just super, like.
Yeah, just when we're talking about, just I see a lot of messages coming in. Remember that we're man of the match tonight as well for your pizza for at Tony's Pizzeria. So keep commenting for your man of the match.
A good view tonight.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably the most we've had in a couple of weeks. I think the referee's discussion and the sending off has really brought people kind of out tonight. Yeah. Steph, how are we from Mike?
Yes, I think I'm back.
There we go. So Steph, you were at the match. Yes. I was obviously watching live, but not at the game myself. Chris was busy behind the lens. But what gave you the pictures though?
Gave you the pictures.
From the town end point of view is probably the best way of putting it. What did you think of the game? What was the atmosphere like?
Yeah, it seemed a bit flat, particularly in the first half. Like, I think the game sort of lent to that as well. There was nothing to get excited about. We were like taking safe options when we were passing the ball. We weren't really not going direct, but we weren't zipping the ball about, and look, we seemed to be a bit sluggish and sloppy all over the place. So look, you were like the sending off sort of sparked it into life a wee bit, and then obviously halftime came straight away. But I'm sure they were told, like we would have been told years ago, if there's a man sent off, get every decision that's going, then you make a big deal out of it. You try and get the referee to even it up. Let's just say, especially if there's sort of look, I think he's taking him down, and he tried to do the old Stephen Taylor where he gets shot on the goal line when he give away the handball that time or whatever. But look, I think that's what happened. And yeah, you can agree that Bradley was being fouled for about 20 yards. Your man could have stuck a saddle on his back at one stage. He was on top of him that much. But from what I seen, I thought he sort of swung his arm back and caught him with an elbow into the chin. Look, you're at the game and you're just seeing it. I said to Shane Grimes, I said, I think he caught him with an elbow, but I could have been wrong. Like maybe it was a kick out on the ground, but I didn't see it after that. And then there was a bit of a melee. So it was up the other end of the pitch. So I'm going to do an Arsham Wanger and say I didn't see it clearly what happened. But as soon as I think Wardy obviously changed the game, and I thought Sam Bone came in and was excellent. He won 2 or 3 tackles back. He kept the ball moving forward as well. And then obviously Doyle's cross for the goal was excellent. Like it was right in the money to the back post, just perfectly for Kelly to run onto. And look, I think everyone over our side was sort of moaning about him in the first half, taking the wrong options, not being progressive. Like every time he got the ball, he wanted to the first thing he was looking to do was play it back to Lee. There was no forward thinking. But then when he got switched sides, then it was a lot better. He was on the right hand side, he seemed to be better, and then obviously Wardy's cross for the goal was a cracker. It was amazing, and the header as well. Like I don't know how he's got up that high, and I think he came down with a bit of cloud underneath his arm. He was up that high.
Did you get from obviously been down that end of the field? Was there a sense of it sounded like when you were saying the atmosphere was a bit flat? Was the sending offs? Did it change the crowd? Did it kind of? It seemed to kind of I on the shed side anyway, from the camera angle and the sound, it seemed to really get, especially when Duff went off in particular, it seemed to really get the atmosphere a bit more electric. Now I don't know, maybe that was just the speakers or something, but I'm just wondering from the your end of the pitch, was there a bit of an uplift or a bit of a shift in gear?
Yeah, look, when that happened, there was a bit of an incident point and everyone sort of was up for it. But then, obviously, we've missed the free kick. If that had went in, I'd say the place would have erupted. But it was sort of halftime came at the wrong time then for the atmosphere sort of side of things. Like halftime came and then it was a bit drab after that. So I think after the second half was definitely a lot better, and obviously we score and the place takes off again. But when they scored, they went mental. They let about 4 or 5 flares, I think it was, and they thought they'd absolutely robbed the point, like the same in Talca. And look, when that goal went in, my voice is gone, still gone from it. So it's still not right. I was trying to talk to my 2 boys on the way home, and I couldn't even say anything to them. You know what I mean? So we were all going nuts when that goal went in. It was serious goal, serious header.
I think it's going to be one of those. I don't know we'll bring on a guest in a minute. He might say in it, but I think it could be one of those pivotal wins in the season that maybe changes kind of. I don't want to say kickstarts the season because I'm saying that the 6 weeks, but you'd hope that win tonight. Although it's not, I know it's the last couple of minutes, but I think with everything that went on with the ref, the sending offs, the manager's been sent to the stand, I think a win like that could really we could really look back and say, right, well, that's when it kind of kicked off, or that's what changed the season. I just get that buzz about it tonight, just at the last maybe 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think sort of Stevie O'Donnell sort of got that sort of feel as well, because as soon as the match was over, then they went over to the shed, and then they come over to the stand then as well, and everyone was on their feet like clapping and cheering, and he gave it an old Jurgen Klopp, the old fist pumps, and he's clapping his chest and that, and he was trying to get the crowd going, because look, like you said, that the likes of that, if you can get everyone moving in the same direction, people supporting the team, even if we aren't playing well, or if, look, everyone's saying, oh, it was a bit boring in the first half, and just get behind the team. The more momentum they get behind them, the more confidence it'll fill them. Like, they know if they're not playing well, look, the crowd might be worth a point to us here, might be worth 3 points to us. And if we can just get behind them and support them, even in tough times like the first half, like, I don't think we created a chance of note. We didn't even look like we were going to create a chance at one stage. So, it's about the crowd playing the part, and it's like, I think Oriel Park's like one of the most important for us as a home team. Like I know you go up to certain grounds, and like Finhouse is a tough place to go, but you don't have the crowd element to it. Whereas I think Oriel Park's massive for that. Like, I think it's definitely worth a couple of extra points a season that the team probably shouldn't get. And if we can use that to our advantage, and I think all the better for it.
And kick on it, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Just when we're talking about atmosphere, and one of the people journalists that sit in the stand, one of our regulars now that's coming up, he sits in the stand along with myself, stand side army, I suppose the best way of putting it. There's probably, I don't know how many times he's been on the show, but he is a regular. He's almost as regular as Donald Hanks, who ended up getting a job on the show, so he has to be careful what he wishes for when he comes on every so often. So we're just going to bring it in. We're going to bring in local football journalist Niall.
How's lads?
How are we? Are we well?
All good. Keeping well.
Hey, the game tonight. What did you think of overall, Niall?
Yeah, I think I just caught the tail end there of what Stefan was kind of saying. Like, like the first half, I was sitting beside Barry Landy tonight in the media tribune, and I think I'd said to him after about 40 minutes that, this is the worst first half of football I've ever watched. And he thought that was a little bit harsh, and maybe it was. But then it seems when the sending off sort of happened, like just after that whole, Damien Duff getting sent off along with Shane Griffin with the second yellow, it just seemed that the whole game sort of kicked into life. And I think it was a game that maybe just needed that bit of bite. Not that I'd be advocating, sort of foul play or anything like that in matches, but I mean, like, there was nothing really happening in the match, and I spent the majority of the first half just looking at the other scores and some of the other games, and because there was nothing going on. Like, and I was actually praying for my match report, like, because I think I had 2 notes written down, and that was only Bradley's free kick in 14 minutes, and his half chance then on 27, and there was nothing after that afterwards. So I was thinking, how in the name of Jesus am I going to get any sort of cohesive report for this game written up tonight and over the weekend? So luckily it kicked into life after that. I think it certainly had the feeling of, a big moment in a season. Obviously there was a lot said about Monday night's game in Tala Stadium, where, he sort of took a bit of a gamble, Stephen O'Donnell, and, made a lot of changes. And, I think the worry for him tonight would have been, if they don't get a result, having lost 1-0 in that game, the changes and the gamble, so to speak, wouldn't have paid off at all. And you kind of felt coming into this game, this is the first time that Stephen, was probably maybe coming under a little bit of scrutiny and under a little bit of pressure in that regard. But I thought, like, the game itself, like, it was the second half. It really did come to life, and the goals. The Dundalk goals were actually, like, the second goal was actually amazing, really. And that's what Keith Ward gives you. And Stephen O'Donnell he name-checked Keith Ward quite a few times in his post-match just there a while ago, and that's what Keith Ward's going to give you. Keith Ward started against Shamrock Rovers on Monday night, and I think Keith Ward, he's at an age now at the minute where I think, he's probably not going to be able to play 90 minutes in a match. And I think bringing him on for the last 20 minutes or so, like he did tonight, Keith Ward's capable of doing something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and he can put the ball, like, I think Keith Ward over the years has been, technically, he's one of the best in the league. And he's done that throughout a lot of the season. Like, you know what I mean? His technical ability is I think if maybe not for his injuries, he might have been over in England a good few years ago. But he gives you that. And the ball in, and like John Martin, who hasn't really been in the team at all. And I thought when John Martin signed from Waterford, this is a really good signing, but he hasn't really had a run of games. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities, I suppose, to kind of show what he's about. And that was also a massive goal for him, not just for Dundalk, but for John Martin. And it was a great header. Like, the ball was unbelievable. And I was lucky enough to see a replay of it there. And it's an absolutely amazing goal. And the atmosphere, I think Shells were only level for 4 minutes. And obviously, the penalties, we sort of asked Stephen about the penalty. Now, Stephen, loves to play devil's advocate with these things. He wasn't really saying anything. And he wasn't, he just more or less used the old excuse of, not excuse, but the old answer of, I haven't watched it back yet, which is fair enough. But I think I'd seen it back, and if anything, the first foul that Kelly made on Moylan was actually more of a penalty on 52 minutes than the one that was actually given. I thought it was very harsh, and Kelly was obviously the 2 fouls, but I think the second one that was actually given on 80 minutes was extremely harsh. There's very minimal contact, and I suppose Kelly knows the risks when you're kind of tangling like that. But I think Wilson's gone down very, very easily. I think there was a lot of that kind of stuff in the game tonight. You know what I mean? Even the Bradley sending off. I think Bradley, kicks out. It probably, by the letter of the law, probably is a red card. So to be fair to Paul McLaughlin there, he probably got that one right, I think. But the penalty was definitely not, I don't think the second penalty, the penalty that was given to Shells, in my view, certainly, having watched it back a few times now, wasn't a penalty. And I actually think the one at 52 minutes was a penalty, where Kelly sort of nudges Moylan. I think that's way more of a penalty. But I think overall, it was actually, really on the back of the defeat on Monday night. I think, a lot of people going home happy from Oriel Park tonight. And I think hopefully now, with Drogheda, the next 2 games, Drogheda at home, UCD away, with the greatest respect to those sides, they're sides that will probably be expecting to be in the bottom 3. And it's a chance for the Dundalk now maybe to put a bit of a run together coming into, the summer months.
Just something, sorry, Chris, just something you mentioned at the start there. Sorry, Chris, got to call you. I'm taking over producer role tonight. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll just close my window.
It was just something you mentioned at the start about Stevie possibly under scrutiny. Like, from a journalist point, would there have been that kind of talk? Would there have been that kind of vibe? I know we talk all sorts of shit on this podcast for weeks and weeks, but would there have been that kind of talk in the background of, they've really got to get, like, they've really got to start getting results now, or there's going to be, there could be serious problems. Was there that kind of in the background?
Not like, I wouldn't say like it was anything severe. I just kind of felt it from my own personal point of view, like, from talking to people around the place and having been at the game Monday night where he made those changes, and it was a very unorthodox sort of 11 he picked with no recognised striker and, Sloggett playing it in wide right at the beginning. It was a very sort of odd, and it was a massive experiment which probably failed, because I don't think Rovers were brilliant on Monday night necessarily. And, I think, that was the disappointing element of that game. But I don't think that, I wouldn't say it was pressure necessarily. Like, I think it's very early for that. And I don't think, like, I wouldn't say there was a feeling of like pressure coming into the game. I just think within himself, he might have felt that bit of scrutiny within himself, maybe, that, because if you're a manager and you make those changes and you don't get any kind of a result, you're playing against Shelbourne, who, got tanked by, Bows on the same night or the same day. You're going into that game at home, Dundalk, who've got a very good record at home over the last number of years, and you're thinking, we really got to be getting the 3 points here by hook or crook, like, you know what I mean? And if not, you just feel like there would have been a bit of, what I guess what I'm saying is, I think not necessarily tonight, but I think that kind of scrutiny would start to creep in a little bit into Stephen O'Donnell's sort of management, and possibly unfair in some respects. I think, and it's something I kind of mentioned, even before the season began. It was like when Stephen got the job, you can't really underestimate the sort of mess he inherited from top to bottom, basically, from last year and the last couple of years. So there was a lot of that to work with, and you can't just walk in and sort of change it overnight. I think, and I've said it to a few people obviously in town who I speak to about football and stuff, and I do always reaffirm this point that, Dundalk FC did exist before 2013, and like, you guys like myself are all old enough to remember 7 straight seasons in the first division, like, for example, like, and maybe great some seasons. Of us they were the glory years, Stefan, and I think like, we do have to, like, I think some of us, like, probably have to take our heads out of the sand a little bit. There was people, thinking, and it's a great romance seeing Stephen O'Donnell coming back, and he was the captain throughout the glorious, Stephen Kenny period, and people kind of thinking automatically, oh yes, the glory days are coming back immediately, but it's going to take time. And I did say, like at the beginning, you know, a third, fourth place finish, getting back into Europe is the remit this season. We're not going to be anywhere near Shamrock Rovers or Derry City this season, I don't think. So it was always going to be trying to consolidate and get ourselves back into Europe. And I think that's very achievable. It's very attainable from the first, 12 or so matches. You know, you're looking at it and you're looking at other teams. It's, third place is, I think it's very, very achievable. And I think that should be the target. And I'd like to think now that the Dundalk can go on a bit of a run with a couple of fixtures in mind now against teams that we probably should be looking to beat and teams that will probably be fighting relegation. UCD got spanked, 7-1 by Derry City tonight. Drogheda, been very hit and miss. They're not the same, even though they beat us at Head Game Park. Like, it's they haven't been consistent, under Kevin Doherty. Now, Kevin Doherty actually was at the game tonight. I spotted him, and I think the Dogs showed a bit more bite tonight. But I think they needed that bit of. The game was really lacking in the first half, as I'm sure you all kind of observed yourselves, and it was just it was nearly painful in the first 40-odd minutes looking at it, because you couldn't see either side really getting a goal, and you're thinking this is 0-0 written all over it. But it fairly came to life, and I just hope now this is going to serve as a catalyst now for Dundalk to sort of go on, maybe put a run of wins together, and maybe try and consolidate the third position in the table.
Just touching on John Martin for a minute. Is he carrying some sort of an injury? I seen he was doing his warm up in front of me, and he'd a strap around his thigh or his knee or something like that. I'm just wondering, like, obviously if Stevie was going to change things, especially up top, like the Rovers game might have been ideal for him to come in, because he played so well in the home fixture against them. I'm just thinking, like, he's obviously not fully fit, because he has to be pushing for a starting spot there, surely.
Yeah, Stefan, I don't think he is fully fit. A few weeks back now, he did pick up a knock, and Dave Mackey had actually said that he'd be out for at least a few weeks, and that was only a couple of weeks ago. So I think he's probably come back a bit earlier than even the coaching staff had expected. And I'd like to think now, if and when he comes back to full fitness, I think he can be a real asset for Dundalk, because as I've already said, like, I think when he signed, it seemed every time we played Waterford last season and even the season before, John Martin was at the forefront of a lot of things that Waterford were doing, like, and he's actually a player that, I continuously pointed out as, you wouldn't mind maybe grabbing him from Waterford, because he is a really good player and he can play in a variety of positions, attacking positions. And I think, that goal will give him such confidence as well, because obviously he's coming to a new club, with the great respect to Waterford, a bigger club than Waterford, with a bigger expectation. And, to get that goal, in front of the shed, it's going to do his confidence the world of good now. And I hope now for him, he's going to come into full fitness now and really show what a good player he actually is, because I do think he's got the potential to be a seriously good player for Dundalk. And I really hope he shows that.
Yeah, Niall, obviously I was chatting to Dave Mackey at the end for LOI TV, and he was just saying that probably the best thing that could have happened at the start of the second half was the Shells came out and actually had a go, because it kind of opened the game a little.
Yeah.
I know the sending off happened shortly after that, but, it probably woke us up a bit more.
I think so. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Chris. I think, obviously the first red card from Shells, Griffin getting the second booking, certainly opened the game up, and Dundalk kind of came out of the second half, sort of out of the blocks. But then, we get Stephen Bradley gets a straight red then, and suddenly it's 10v10, and you're thinking, it's kind of back to square one nearly, or you're kind of worrying. But then not long after that, we get the goal, and I thought to be fair, we were reasonable for a long period after the goal, Kelly's goal, the first goal, we were comfortable, I felt, and
even you'd Hubin one up the crossbar before that, or the stanchion or wherever it kind of hit as well. All of a sudden the game really opened up, and there was chances all over the place.
It did, and it really sort of did. And there was I think McCarry put the ball in for that, Hoban. And McCarry's another player. I think he's a player who's really come on in recent weeks. Like, he had a bit of a ropey start playing out of position, so I kind of felt a bit for him. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a young lad who hadn't played, professional senior football. He'd come in from a different league, from Stoke City, and was playing out of position because of we were kind of we were lacking in the back four. And he's coming into a right back position now, and I think he's performed very, very well in the last number of weeks, and he likes to get forward. You know, we obviously all remember Sean Gannon, you know, was doing that for years with Dundalk, and I think, you know, putting those crosses in, you know, it adds a different element to the whole team. And I think, you know, it's becoming a really settled team now at Dundalk as well. You know, I think O'Donnell's sort of getting closer and closer to working out what his best 11 is. Like, the back four seems very settled now. You know, the goalkeeper's been immense, Nathan Shepherd, throughout the season so far, and he's now got a back four of McCarry and Leahy as fullbacks, and Connolly and Boyle, two vastly experienced centre halves, are forming a very good partnership, I think. And Connolly, you know, got the official man of the match tonight, and I don't think that was, you know, a bad call. I think he's really grown into the league here, and you know, he's got tremendous experience in Scotland and England. And Boyle, as we all know, is one of the best defenders in the country for a number of years now, and they're forming a really good defensive partnership. And the two fullbacks are, you know, Leahy was getting involved in a lot of the attacking play as well. Mm-hmm. And even there was one point where Leahy got back actually to make a great block. I think it was it Moylan? I think it was I think Farrell had just kind of headed it on, and so we were caught napping a little bit. And so the back four and Leahy sort of just ran across and made a crucial block. I think Farrell was probably going to score, or Moylan, sorry. And I think the back four is working for each other. I'm not wanting to bring up last season, but we certainly weren't seeing that kind of unit last season, or that kind of fight in the team. And I think Steph, you know, kind of referenced, you know, even O'Donnell's reaction, you know, after the match, and I was in the main stand, and I could see he wasn't just over the shed side; he went over to the main stand, and he was giving it socks, I suppose. And you know, it's great to see that, because you can just see that the players and the coaching and everything is just fighting for the badge now. And I think as supporters, like that's all you want. Like, we're not expecting, or we shouldn't be expecting Dundalk to win leagues and cups and do well in Europe every single season. It's having a team that's actually fighting for the jersey, and I think we're seeing that this season. And you know, tonight was a great example of that. They really battled and got a really hard 4-3 points.
And Niall, just when were you talking to Skip at the end, were you?
Yeah, we sort of had a media huddle at the end of the game.
I was just wondering, did he take any kudos? Because obviously his two substitutes combined to win the game. You know, it's got to be a little tip of the cap and say, you know, well, look, I'm after bringing both those players on, Wardy in to put that ball in, and Martin to finish it. Like, you know, it's good for him, isn't it? Like, you know, he's brave enough to make his decision. When they pay off, it's, you know, especially a late winner like that, it must be nice.
Yeah, it was. It actually was mentioned in the post-match huddle about the substitutions, and obviously O'Donnell is he's probably not gonna, you know, sing his own praises, but like, as you'd expect. But like, I think deep down he'll be thinking that was a great call, because you know, Martin, you know, that was his first touch of the ball, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, you know, he was only on a matter of seconds, and obviously Ward, you know, who also came on in the second half, you know, it paid off, and even towards the end there, McMillan, you know, was battling. You know, and obviously McMillan, you know, is unfortunately at his age now, with the injury he picked up last season, is probably not going to play as much as he had. But like, he's still a great player to bring on in a game like that. And I thought he even battled very hard to kind of keep that 2-1 lead, because Shells naturally were pressing in injury time, and you know, there was 5 minutes of stoppage time played tonight. And you know, I just thought, but the substitutions were absolutely spot on in that regard. And you know, I'm sure, like, I've never experienced it, obviously, but like, I'm sure as a manager, you know, you always feel great. And you know, my dad would have coached schoolboy teams, like, you know what I mean, back in the day, and he always said, like, if you made a substitution and it paid off like that, you always felt great, like, you know what I mean. So I'm only basing on what he said, and I'm sure O'Donnell will be at home tonight thinking, yeah, he made a great call there.
Come here, if I do that on Football Manager, I'm showing everyone substitutes.
Well, this is it, you know.
I thought, look, even making the early substitution with Ward, he could spot, and look, nobody likes to see substitutions happening at halftime and whatever else, but he probably said, look, I'm going to give you 5-10 minutes in the second half. If it's not happening, you're going to be taken out. And to be fair, like, he's put Ward in, and like, he's really got the ball rolling for us there. Like, he kept moving the ball, and it was all progressive, and he was busy. He was like right hand side, left hand side, running through the middle, and he kept us ticking. I thought he was very impressive when he came on. And you know, Gally's his number one cheerleader on here. He's calling for him every single week to be on or starting. So look, I thought that's the best he's shown for us since he's come back, definitely.
Yeah, but like, he is a great signing. Like, and I said that when he signed. Like, a lot of people kind of raised their eyebrows, bringing Keith Ward back for, in his 30s now for a third spell at the club. But I remember thinking just that day, like, that's actually a really, really shrewd signing, because, even if he gives you that for 20, 25, 30 minutes, like in a game, there's probably not a better player in the league for, that kind of technical ability. And I remember Joseph N'Doe, even the great Joseph N'Doe, once said he was the best player that he ever played with was Keith Ward. Do you know what I mean? And I just think he's just a footballer. Do you know what I mean? He just has that sort of that street football sort of way about him. And I think he's always good for something like that. Do you know what I mean? And I think you can bring him on at any stage of the game, and he's capable of that kind of moment of magic, I suppose, which the game probably needed. And I think taking that away from the header as well, Martin's header is superb, but the delivery is absolutely it's unbelievable, really. The more you watch it, the better it gets. Like, you know what I mean? I've watched it back already twice now since I've seen it, since it's happened. And it just is a tremendous delivery. And I just think Ward just gives you that dimension, that sort of, he's just so dynamic. Like, and I think, and even like, Stephen O'Donnell was kind of talking about, he was even referencing, everybody kind of sees him as this kind of, happy-go-lucky sort of Jack the Lad sort of character, but he said that's only one side of him. Like, he's actually a really, really gifted footballer. And he's probably an underrated player, when you think about the context of the last, maybe 10 years in the League of Ireland. He's probably a very, very underrated sort of player, because, every club he's kind of been with, he's always had those moments of magic in his locker. Like, and, I actually think it was actually one of the more shrewd signings that Stephen's made so far.
Yeah, I think he gets at players
brought
as well,
him in for his.
Sorry, Steph.
Yeah, and his character as well. Like, everyone around the league seems to love him, and he was doing a warm up in the first half, and I think Andy Boyle cleared a header, and he was screaming over him to sort of congratulate him, and little stuff like that just lifts you and gives you a bit of confidence, even if you're the experience of Boyle. You know what I mean? Someone chatting on to you saying you've done well, one of your fellow players. Like, it's little things like that sort of build the character within the team and just get everyone together, and it's only going to benefit us. Yeah, absolutely, man.
And that's again, like, that's something that just wasn't present at the club last year, and I'm sure there was a myriad of reasons for that. Like, but that sort of unit that we're seeing now, and players fighting for each other and fighting for the jersey, I think that's been the big difference. And I think tonight was probably the best example of that so far. Just that battling sort of mentality. And, even after conceding that penalty, which was a very harsh penalty, I don't think it was a penalty. And I just think, to have the character to then come back with, coming into the last 5 minutes, to then just have that bit of moment. And, Ward was responsible for that. And, John Martin, hopefully now that can propel him now to have a really good season for us. And I do think tonight, could be a big moment in the season for Dundalk, and especially with a couple of fixtures in mind, coming up.
Yeah, you just have to make sure we take advantage of it now.
Oh, big time.
Exactly.
6 points should be the goal, like,
Like, and just on, like, obviously it's a massive win tonight. Like I said earlier on, it'll go probably during the season. We probably won't appreciate it much during the season. But just before we let you go, Niall, just going on to next week's match. You mentioned Kevin Doherty's in the stand tonight. How do you see that panning out? But obviously, we don't like to talk about it too much. The game a couple of weeks ago that we played them, and it seems like the 15th time we played in the games that come around that fast. But how do you see that going? Do you think? Well, you'd like to think we can kick on, but look at a loud derby after a game like that. It's not exactly what you want, but how do you see it going?
Yeah, Andrew, I think, like, we're saying it's a loud derby, and it is, obviously, but I mean, like, I suppose the game at Head in the Game Park earlier in the year was only last month, I think, but like, that was probably one of our more disappointing performances overall, because even though, again, that night, Drogheda got a penalty, which in my opinion, again, was never a penalty, but we didn't play well that night. We never looked like, it wasn't a great performance on the night from Dundalk. Whereas there was other games where we saw drop points, and you're thinking, well, we actually did well. Like Shells at Talca was an example of that, where we probably should have got the 3 points, but didn't. The game in Drogheda was the first game where I think we really it was just one of those damn squibs, like, and we just didn't really show up. We weren't at the races at all that night. So, and I don't know if that was to do with the loud derby atmosphere or whatever, but, next week, the game's in Oriel, and as we know, like Oriel's become a bit of a fortress now for Dundalk, even last season, even towards the tail end of last year. Once the fans returned to Oriel, when Oriel's rocking like that, it must be very intimidating for any opposition team, because it's such an intimate ground, like, you know what I mean? And you can hear every shard of abuse that's been thrown at you, like, you know what I mean? And obviously Damien Duff like got a lot of that tonight in the stand, even when he was sent off, like, you know what I mean? There was a lot of people shouting and roaring at him and stuff, and but that all added to the occasion. It was brilliant. But I think, next week, Drogheda, like, on paper, you'd like to think we should be winning this game, especially at Oriel Park. Like, if we can, the only worry I kind of have at the minute is some of the injuries. Like Robbie Benson's been a massive loss, and he was a massive loss on Monday night. I do think Robbie Benson's probably been our best player, over the first round of matches. And Dan Williams is a loss as well, because, I think he's actually performed quite well. That being said, I thought Doyle, Paul Doyle, has come under a bit of flack from certain quarters, like, and it came under a bit of criticism even from the main stand tonight, you know what I mean? For maybe not being as, attacking minded maybe as he could be, but like, he put in that ball for the first goal with Kelly, and again, like, we're kind of praising Ward's cross, but that was a great ball that Paul Doyle put in for Dan Kelly's goal, and Dan Kelly's just up there, and he side foots at home, but I just think, the injuries is something that we kind of have to mind, because we haven't got the biggest squad this season, and I think that's good. And obviously now Stephen Bradley's, I'm assuming, is suspended, although we don't really know how these suspensions work in the league anymore, because I got called out a few times with this last year, like, you know what I mean, in some of my match previews, like, because I assumed it'd be the next game, and then you're finding out, it's actually 5 weeks later a player suspended or something like that. So, but I'm assuming Stephen Bradley's out of I'm assuming at the minute at least that Stephen Bradley's out of next week's game. So will Stephen O'Donnell have to change a few formations again? I hope not, because I think tonight was, it was barring the first it was kind of dead for the first 40 minutes on both ends, but like, I thought Dundalk really sort of upped the ante in the second half, and I think ultimately deserved 3 points in the end.
Are we gonna put you under pressure here and get a score prediction from you?
Well,
you've done well, the 10-minute dodge there of that score prediction.
That was a long-winded answer. I was saying I don't want to say it, but like, no, I don't mind the prediction, Stefan. I'm actually going to be very optimistic, and I'm going to go 3-1 for Dundalk.
Write that down.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 for Dundalk. I just think
that's the snippet for this week's show.
Retweet this out now, by the way. So you're goose. You just nailed your colours to the wall.
Yeah.
I'm standing by you, fair play.
That's all right.
I stand by it. Yeah.
Listen, I really appreciate you coming on. You're becoming a bit of a regular. Like I said, Donald Hanks, if you're listening, brother, enjoy them pints. Your spot at the seat could be numbered over the next couple of weeks. Really appreciate you coming on.
I do always love coming on, but I do want to mention one thing. The highlight of tonight was clearly Jerry Malone's interview with Vito from the Sopranos.
I just seen it at the corner of me. Yeah, you see the picture.
Yeah, I had a ringside view of this, and I don't think I've ever laughed as hard in my life, to be fair now. And I actually got a lift home with Jerry just there a short while ago, and I can't even repeat what Vito actually said to one of his to answer one of his questions. I think Jerry asked Vito how's his career getting on at the minute, and Vito relayed an answer that I probably can't repeat on this show, but like, yeah, to say it was an amusing altercation was quite a meeting of minds, and that was I actually nearly forgot about the game, and by the time I got home here I was worried. I was thinking, Jesus, I actually can't, all my memory of the game just kind of went. I was thinking, I can't remember what score it was after that. I was like, that was just an amazing.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix. The two boys.
Yeah,
there's a picture here. Dan McDonald's actually retweeted a photo of it, so it's actually up. If anybody wants to see what was said, it's actually on Twitter.
But Jerry was very good now. With it, I have to say now.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
He probably
pay off man to interview him as well. Like a meeting of minds.
He probably won't thank me. He probably won't thank me for bringing it up, because he told me not to. But I'll bring it up anyway. And see.
Nobody's watching. It'll be grand.
I get the ear bashing next week off from now for that, but it was great. It was fantastic. It really was.
That'll be our last lift home.
It capped off a great night at Oriel Park. Like, it was just perfect. Like,
fair, brilliant. Niall, look, and thanks very much for coming on. Hopefully we'll get talking in a couple of weeks again. We'll pencil in for 3-1, and we'll see how we go for next week.
Listen, lads, pleasure as always. I see you.
Gentlemen, thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Nice and well.
Say is all.
Oh man.
3-1, lads. I can't believe Pingu got away with another 2-1.
Yeah. Yes. Like
Did he
I
put
was
it
just
in?
thinking that. Yeah, I was just thinking that when Niall was saying his projections. Like, I think Pingu nailed that one.
Yeah, no, he did.
Disaster.
He posted it in, did he? I didn't see
But
it.
he got in.
He did,
He
to
just
be
beat
fair.
the
Bastard.
deadline. He beat the Chris O'Clock. Yeah, Chris at the time up there earlier on. He bet the deadline.
That's fair enough.
We
That's fair
retweeted
enough.
out Dan's picture, by the way, of Vito. I literally walked
It's
past
brilliant.
at the end of this, and everybody in the media huddle just busted out laughing. So I'm dying to hear what was actually said.
I can see the artwork now. I can see all the designers around town. I can see them recreating this. Hold on there. We have a
We've
the main man in again. Hold on 1 second.
How's it going, lads?
Mr. Arrowsmith, what's the story?
Not too bad.
Welcome back.
I can finally hear Steph, so I said I better jump on, give a bit of abuse.
Child back asleep.
Yeah, you'd put them to sleep, Chris.
It's probably by producing at the start, Dr. Sportchild Luke.
No, I was looking at her and I was watching it, and I couldn't believe that she came out and she has more hair than Steph McKevin already. She's only a week and a half old.
Wow.
You went there, Steph.
You didn't say, have we?
2 weeks.
Drop him out again, will you, Chris?
Steph, we were just talking there. You got the correct score tonight. So you're up the leaderboard there. I can't remember how the points work, but
Pingu did.
Three.
Oh, Pingu, sorry. I'm looking at your picture. Sorry. Have you seen? I don't know if you're on Twitter, Pingu, but we were just talking with Jerry Malone interviewing Vito. It's a classic.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I saw Dan McDonald posting it or whatever. Yeah, so. Yeah. I tell you, that's going to be blockbuster stuff. We should have asked Jerry to do it on behalf of the town and charge people to watch it.
According to Niall, I think we might have had a couple of explainers and explicit things said before we could put that interview out.
Yeah, I don't think it's even for our standards. I think it's a bit extreme.
It is a bit. That'd be the Soprano in him, I suppose. No, I wonder did he enjoy the game? We should have got him on, really. I think he's doing an interview this weekend anyway. Lads, will we move on to man of the match, I think, will we?
Yeah, go for it.
We've got a lot. That's probably our most in a couple of weeks. We have a couple of Keith Wards. We've a few Mark Connolly's as well. I know, Pingu, I think you had kind of, you can kick this off because you just in case you have to jump away again with Wi-Fi problems. So we'll as you're watching the match, we'll start off with yourself, I suppose.
That's an awful thing to call the child Wi-Fi, Gally. That's a bit rude, like.
Wi-Fi hours, man.
No, I think, you see it, I think it's becoming a trend. Like, it's almost becoming like the former captain of last year. I think Mark Connolly's getting nominated every week, isn't he? He's putting in that solid effort. And I was waxing lyrical about his pass to Hooben before the first goal. I think it was a great ball in. But for me, I'm probably going to pick Wardy, actually, because I think Wardy changed the game when he came on. I think he settled things down. He was involved in a lot of the good play we had. And when we were talking at the start of the thing about just how Shell's tried to bully, I nearly think Wardy's the best player to have on the pitch because he winds everybody up on the opposition. Like, I think he actually gets the worst out of some of those players that when they're wound up, So for me, because he changed the game, he set up the winner, I'm going to go with Wardy.
Interesting. We've a lot. I just rock it. We've a lot for Doyle as well. A lot of Paul Doyle mentions as well. So yeah, look.
Actually, I'm going to go with Doyle.
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag tonight. It's not. There's not one clear out white running away with it. Go on, Steph. You were at the game. We'll go with you.
Yeah, I thought one of the players that probably played the best in the first half was Doyle. He kept things sort of ticking over, and then his assist for the first goal was Super Bowl. It was just on the money, and Kelly didn't have to think about it too much, thankfully. And I thought he done really well. He was sort of plugging gaps a bit in the first half, but I'm gonna side me Almeida as well, Dino, and pick Ward as well because he was the game changer. He came on and kept us ticking, and do you know what I mean? That pearly white teeth he has as well, fucking distraction for any of the boys that's marking him. But look, that ball he put in was cracking ball. Like, look, it's a sensational ball in. Like, and I thought, look, he came on and changed the game, and he deserved to get it, even if he wasn't even on for a full half.
Christopher.
Thank you. I think
Niall called me Andrew, so it was nice.
Yeah,
so I'll go everybody's full name.
It's been pulled out now. I think it's probably between two for me. I thought Doyle had a really, really solid game, probably his best game that I've seen him play so far. Thought McCarry was also very good, up and down, and gave it everything tonight. But I think probably Doyle just tipped it for me, so that's who I would go for.
So lads, we've a problem now, because I'm just going to go straight in, and I'm going for Doyle as well. So is that, we don't get many splits. Is that a split?
All the names in, and then you pick a random one that's got either of those two answers.
Yeah. So I don't need. I thought he was. I understand Niall was saying that he was getting a bit of abuse from the stands. I think the problem was that he was almost taking a wee bit too long with the ball, but he never really lost it. Always seemed to get the pass away. Ward, look at. It breaks me heart. Not probably not on another night. I'd probably go for him, but I think Doyle. He's at a tough start of the season. Like, I hammered him a couple of weeks ago myself, and I thought he was probably. Sorry, Chris.
It's the podcast bounce. After we hammer someone, they have a cracking game.
I'm going to go with him just to put an absolute spanner in the works.
Fia picked Wardy as well, so I think he has to get it. So it's 2.5 votes.
We'll send it that pizza. I said, Pingu, since you've been busy the last couple of days, you have a look. Do you want to have a look through the comments there? Do you want to pick out someone who matches up? Because we're going to have to go. Have we ever had a split? We'll probably just go with George and Finger, will we? We've never had this split, so this is new territory for us, folks. Apologies.
I'm going to go Mark Carolan. He was the first person in with Keith Ward at the start of the show, so I'll go with Mark.
There you go.
Well done, Mark.
Well done, Mark.
Peter, is Mark Carolan? Mark's a regular. He doesn't live abroad, does he? No, he's not that Mark. No, I hope not. If not, you can send the pizza to someone local. You can send the pizza to someone local. Send it to Pingu there. He's probably closer. So there we go. Mark Carolan, Tony's Pizzeria. Just contact us. I think we'll contact Tony's with your name, and you can give him a shout and get the pizza delivered. Buy some chips, whatever you want to buy yourself as well. A wee bit extra for Vinny and the boys.
Predictions.
Just to see it. Predictions, yeah, we're going to move on to predictions. Chris, I don't have your fancy. I don't know if you're putting backgrounds in for league tables or anything like that. So if you want to hammer them up, you can go for it. But we'll go with predictions. We'll go reverse order for next week.
League table as it stands.
Yeah. I'll kick it off. I was going to go with 3-1 as well, but Niall's got that in, so I'm going to go 4-0. I'm going to go really out. I'm going to go way out because we owed him one. I seen somebody put up a comment. We owed him one for a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to bounce off the one tonight. I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to go 4-0. Here's some other. Right, Chris. We'll go with Chris. We'll go backwards. We'll go yourself now.
I say 2-0. 2-0. We think we'll
live a little
clean sheet. I'm going to go 2-0. I never get to do it because you and Steph picked 2-0 before me. So the fact that the draw was open, I'll take it tonight. 2-0.
Steph.
I'm going to get down to Arrowsmith route and just keep picking the same score until it comes up. 3-1.
And then I don't want to cause a shock. I'm going to go with 2-1 Dundalk.
2-1.
Two correct predictions now in 3 games.
Two home games in a row, isn't it?
Unreal.
Flying, yeah. Home game next week as well.
Yeah.
Say you probably
couple of weeks.
Have you?
You are?
Oh, you must have by now. I had a cracking start and then just died away.
I'm up to see our old friend Carl.
I don't know if this is in reference to the score lines or the pizza call, but Todd, somebody's in trouble with Stephen Todd.
Pingu.
Probably me.
I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm going to elect Dean Arrowsmith for that one. Chris, have we got we don't have the table up, do we?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Just while we're waiting, lads, as well, for the game next week, keep your eyes out because the launch for Mental Health Month with Head in the Game has been done during the match or in the build-up to the match next week. So keep your eye on that for during the week. No pressure on Steph to get the social media out for that.
Yeah, and I'm heading off to Blackpool as well. So
You're going to be busy. You're going to be busy. Carrying home them trophies.
I'll get all the under 12 Woodview lads on huddle around my phone, watching the game, and then we'll jump on for 5 minutes next week. I'm not joking here. There's a good 10 of them that go to every single home game.
That's good.
Brilliant.
At least 10.
Brilliant.
Right.
But yeah.
Go on, Chris, take a run down.
So league table as it stands, after Derry City's big win tonight, they're still top of the league on 27 points. Shamrock Rovers a point behind on 26. Two very healthy goal difference there of plus 14 and 12. Then in third place is Pats on 20 points, and then ourselves in fourth on 18. Gap of 2 points back to Sligo, who I'm assuming is playing Drogheda tomorrow. Am I right? Yeah.
Yep.
Then Bowes in sixth on 15. Drogheda and Shelbourne 7th and 8th, point behind each other. And then a gap down to Finn Harps and UCD on 7 and 4 respectively. Look, we're right in the mix there, lads, doesn't it? That's what I take from that. Is this where you want to be approaching the halfway point of the season coming up in a good few games, but it's where you want to be, isn't it?
Exactly, and the results aren't even, like, when you consider, like Niall mentioned as well, when you consider the beating that Bowes gave Shelbourne the other night, and then Bowes go out tonight and get hammered as well. Well, not hammered, but they're playing Rovers. They won't take it too well, but there's points to be taken off everybody, and it's like Steph was saying last week, or at the last podcast I was on. It's there for Dundalk. They just have to keep beating take points off team around you. Like you can probably not stop worrying about the top two, but maybe give them a bit of a breather. And start, Pats, Sligo, Bowes, that they're your teams. If you can stay above them, you're laughing. But yeah, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks in the season. I think right up through the summer. I think it's going to be, when like we've got, I think is a draw to UCD, if I'm right. Like they're, we should be looking for 6 points maximum points out of those games, and you're looking then for Pats and Bowes and Sligo to drop points. I think if we stay around them, we'll be fine.
I think I heard they called it a while there for you, did I? The I need you call.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's pretty much us, is it, lads?
That's it.
Gally, you can thank all our sponsors and roundups to make sure I don't mess it up again.
Yeah, so look at it as the podcast progresses. We've got plenty of sponsors in. So we'd like to thank Donald Green of Dundalk Village for our main sponsorship. We also have Player Fit for our fantastic gear, which I seem to misplace my t-shirt. I'm wearing this hoodie every week. I seem to misplace my t-shirt. I don't know what I've done with it. And we've also got Tony's Pizzeria, best pizza in town, sponsor our man of the match each week. So massive appreciation to them, and everybody watching as well. Seems to be a busy night with the comments. Obviously, the scandalous Damien Duffin refereeing up in Oriel Park obviously brought in the crowd tonight. It's great to see. So apart from Pingu's bullshit call, I think it's been a decent night according to Stephen Todd.
Is that us?
That's us. Go on, Steph. You take it right there. It wouldn't be right otherwise.
No worry. Oh, Jesus, he's killed me here. No worry, no winner.